Hello and welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals post-game kind of watch along with friends. I'm Johnny Venerable. There was little boy Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire, Brack.
People.
Yeah, we're hanging out. We're watching.
Boy.
Yeah, we're watching preseason football with friends. The Arizona Cardinals continue to at least kind of participate in the preseason. Speaking of participating, participate with our friends at Bet365, the presenting sponsor of this show. Download the Bet365 app and use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. And I'm going to tell you right now, this preseason has been anything but ordinary, Brack.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting early because we want it to come to an end. I think that's the thinking here. We want to just act like the preseason is in the rear view mirror and we can focus on the regular season, which I think, the bulk of the Arizona Cardinals players that they're anticipating leaning on are going to be ready for. But right now we're watching another Desmond Ridder offensive series come to a close. Looks like they're going to punt here. And Ridder and crew, though, they did find the end zone the previous series, and it was the first touchdown with Desmond Ridder in at quarterback of the preseason. So tip of the cap there.
Well, seems bad, in my opinion. Steven Weiss, I love this comment here. Post-game or post-mortem, we'll find out here in the next couple of minutes. The Arizona Cardinals trying to avoid 0-3. They did win a preseason game last year in Jonathan Gannon's debut. I think they've lost now. This would make it five in a row for the Arizona Cardinals. And again, depending on who you are, pushing back, saying it doesn't matter, that's fine. You can have that as your take. And a lot of people share that mindset, Bo. I feel like right now with the Arizona Cardinals and with the deficiencies on this roster and the uncertainty and not seeing a lot of these guys play together, I'm pretty befuddled with this preseason strategy. Again, I could be made a fool. I have before. 2 weeks time. They go into Buffalo, kick ass, take names. Doesn't matter. We're laughing about it. People are eating crow, including myself. I want that to happen. But I just feel like when you attempt to go 3 weeks straight with minimal starters, if any, now we're talking about minimal backups, having a presence in your preseason outing. And then on top of that, your outings are so, I don't want to call them dismal because the guys are trying, but they're so lackluster. We put it in our halftime show, lifeless at times. It gets Cardinal fans, including myself, a little angst because it's like, what do we even expect come week one? Because this is all we're conditioned to see right now.
You're asking me, are you requesting me to overreact with you?
I'm not overreacting. I honestly don't think I'm overreacting. Like, people on Twitter are very much like, it's the preseason, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Like, does their backup quarterback play not matter? Because it looks like ass right now. Yeah. Does their line of scrimmage depth not matter? Because that hasn't been good in 2 preseason games thus far. And then I'm sorry, like, the pass rush is what it is. Like, a little bit of Cameron Thomas here and there, but that has not looked good with guys that are expected to make this roster. So it's a 17-game slog now in the NFL. And yeah, you can say like, oh, K1 will be fine. And okay, Kyler Murray's missed games every single year he's played in the NFL.
Right.
And then the alternative to that is Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder. I'm sorry, depending on who you're playing, unless their names are Carolina, that's looking like a big fat L to me right now.
Right. But so what are you requesting, man? So you're just saying this is what you've seen and you need to see movement on this roster to feel better about it going into the regular season.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be disrespectful or say that.
No. Listen, I think, and people are like, why are you overreacting? Okay, that's fine. I'm sure if you asked Jonathan Gannon, they would have expected better results. Like, no one, and this is probably my point, I'm not making this well enough. No one expects to go into preseason games and perform like this. Can I just say that? Like, even though the games don't count and they don't matter, you're not trying to lose them. You want to be able to put drives together, score touchdowns, right? Stop your opposing offenses. The Cardinals really they've looked like they're not checked into these games.
Yeah. It's gross. Anytime, I don't care what the circumstances are, that Zach Wilson is playing well. and
Right.
set a 46-yard touchdown pass to make it now 30-12.
Mm,
Zach Wilson on the day is 16 for 25, 251, and 2 touchdowns.
bad.
Back rating of 123. Look, yeah, it's I just don't think that this team value, like Jonathan Gannon's going to tell you, like anytime you line up, you play to win the game, and yes, that's correct. But I don't know if they put much value in the preseason.
Well,
Like,
clearly they don't.
what?
They don't.
Yeah, I let you speak on this now. I
Sorry.
as we wait for the final whistle to blow on this thing, but it's second, third, fourth string guys playing in running vanilla offense and defensive plays. Like there's little to no strategy. They haven't rolled out either one of either sides of the football. It's ugly, and it's I don't know if they expected it to look this bad. I don't think anybody did. I think they wanted players to show, even guys that they were expecting to be depth pieces, to show improvement from year one to year two, and they've seen it incrementally, but probably not near as where they want it and expected it to be as far as going into year two under Gannon, Rollis, and Petzing.
Yeah. And again, I see people in the chat saying, well, why does it matter? It's backups. There's backups that are going to play roles on your team, and these are the backups for other teams. Like this was the Denver Broncos third string quarterback play for most of today. And they have made it look easy for Zach Wilson to score now with 3 total touchdowns. The Cardinals with their quarterbacks, and let's put away the Cardinals defense, because I hear you. A lot of these guys are going to make this team outside of some defensive backs. Why can't the Cardinals backups function like this, or their backups function like Zach Wilson in this game, right? The Cardinals have played 3 teams this preseason, all of which that I think have, varying ceilings this year. The Colts, probably a 500 team that we don't think the Broncos are going to be any good, right? Can't even tell you who they played week 1 of the preseason now. It's a blur in my mind. But just say it out loud. It's like the Cardinals starting quarterbacks in this preseason. How many touchdown throws do they have? I don't even know if they have it. They have one touchdown pass in 3 preseason games. Like say what you want about vanilla schemes. Like they wanted to do better than that. It has not been good enough. And then you couple that with the fact that, well, then you watch them in joint practices, you watch them at training camp in Glendale, right? And Desmond and Clayton Tune haven't looked good there either. It's like, do we have an issue with developing, backup quarterbacks here? Because, they traded for Dobbs, they traded for Ritter, they cut Colt McCoy. If they make a move at quarterback on Tuesday, which I will welcome,
man.
Come on. I know I have an issue with how deficient they look offensively. It's been a very difficult watch. And again, if it's as easy as if Kyler Murray goes down, this franchise is up in flames. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Look, I just don't. You wanted to see improvement from Tune, and you saw minor improvement, like from one preseason to next.
Yeah.
And in between, you had him kind of be the sacrificial lamb as the final gasp to get to bridge to Kyler Murray returning to the playing field last year in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And, Tune comes out, and I think, he was able to engineer some scoring drives. Like you want him, ideally you want him to look like Zach Wilson looked like today, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the reality is, this was about as raw of a prospect as you can take in the 5th round in 2023, and they did. And they liked, what they've seen from him. I'm sure they want to see more, right? And they want to continue to see him maybe go up at a quicker trajectory. But, I think that's the reality of one, the quarterback that they drafted and they want to develop, and then 2, trying to, build depth while also trying to get, starting caliber players on this in the short time that Monti Ossenfort's been the general manager. I mean, this was a full teardown and build back up. And this is still like the infancy stages, but that doesn't give you a complete hall pass, right? You wanted to see a little bit more efficient offensive and defensive football, throughout the preseason, and you haven't seen that. But, I will say, like, as far as the concern going to Buffalo with the ones, especially on the offensive side of the football, like, I mean, Damon and I were both there in Indianapolis. I mean, we saw him moving the football. It didn't look like what you guys have been watching for 3 preseason games now. They were able to make big plays. It was, chunk plays to Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride. And then you also get to really kind of see, a very fresh James Conner and rushing attack. So I will say, like, I know people are upset. Like, anytime you see bad football, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But at the same time, like, it's over now. Like, the preseason is as you mentioned, it's coming to a merciful end. There were 4 minutes left in this game, and now you can turn the page and start to look forward. But like, it doesn't mean say, hey, I'm concerned about this. Like, I'm concerned about the backup quarterback spot. I'm concerned about the where and skeptical about where the pressure is going to come, even from the top guys here. I mean, that's true, but like, I can't put too much stock in what I've seen from three games now from this team.
Yeah, total offensive points in each of the 3 games. Saints 14, Colts 13. Cardinals have 12 points in this game. Currently driving with under 5 minutes left. Desmond and Ritter with
legacy drive. That's what they're
something
saying
like
on the streets.
He's got 8 yards away from clipsing Clayton.
Ritter was injured on the play, huh?
Oh, yikes. 83 passer rating. So Desmond Ritter, somebody said we found out the Riddler, and it hasn't been good. So I probably just butchered that. But the Arizona Cardinals, barring a miraculous comeback, will be 0-3 in the preseason. I think it probably is a byproduct of the talent that they do have. They didn't want it sniffing unless you're a rookie, they didn't want it sniffing the preseason this year. So then you're left with, guys that are obviously not going to make this team. They were signing a flurry of USFL players this week, and then practice squad players from last year. And then you look around and it's, this is the byproduct of what you get. I think from a defensive standpoint, like outside of the first quarter, which was not great, and then obviously the big touchdown there, I think they've had more positives than negative this preseason. I thought at times the defensive back play was solid. I think the run defense more or less has been good. I think offensively it's been a slog. And as you mentioned, bad football, especially bad offensive football, is going to put people in a bad mood. And I've already seen it happen on Twitter. I'm not sitting here saying like this preseason has impacted what I think this team's going to do this year. I think looking throughout the landscape of a 17-game season and knowing Kyler Murray's missed time every year, I feel like the gamble they made on Desmond Ritter, if you can call it that, was a missed one. It was a failure. Yeah. Because I fully expect him, and I hope he's okay, to be cut over the next like 48 hours. It's not been good enough, right? And then okay, what's your alternative? Has Clayton Tune been better? Yes, but by default, like how much better? So I think that's probably where that and the pass rusher are the 2 big eggs right now. This franchise, I don't believe, has QB2 for a quarterback that's missed time. Their pass rush needs attention. You've got other teams making moves, trading for pass rushers. And then now you've got, Darius Robinson on the mend, not expected to be back at least for a couple weeks. So yeah, some people might call those first world problems. I would not, given the situation with the Cardinals roster.
Yeah. Just going off of what just kind of the play sheet says, Ritter was hit, roughing the passer penalty. It just mentioned that he was injured during play, as was Christian Jones, but it looks like Jones is getting the attention here. So something to kind of monitor here is this game draws closer to a close here. Cardinals now 1st and 10 on the Denver 10. I'm not going to give you a full play-by-play, but
no, please do it.
Knocking on the door. You've witnessed enough. Yeah. Christian Jones, who he's getting carted off, and we'll just leave it at that. It's unfortunate for the 5th round player, and we'll see what that does. Does that open up another opportunity, like the Zay Jones suspension for an offensive lineman to move up into the initial, I should say, 53.
Get to some of these super chats here. Potato bread, $4.99. At least we can finally move on to the start of the regular season. Here, potato bread. I think just because this offseason it felt so long, especially since post-draft. and then the preseason kind of came and went, and they didn't participate. Like with some teams, you're like, oh yeah, there's so and so. I'm excited about the development of X, Y, and Z. Like the Cardinals, outside of like a
Oh man,
couple plays of Darius Robinson to begin the preseason. What's going on in this game?
pick 6.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Vance Joseph pick 16. Desmond Ridder. Is that what's happening?
Clayton Tune pass short, left and intended for Andre Bocellia. Went 94 yards for the touchdown.
You want to
Lavelle
rethink?
Bailey went 95 yards.
Would
So
you
it
like to
looks like
rethink
Ritter.
our topic of conversation here at the top of the show, Bo? Would you like to have a rebuttal, or would you like to reconsider the fact that this QB room outside of K1 is a hot mess disaster? It's so fun.
Yeah.
We get to do this in real time where Clayton Tune can help my argument.
Yeah. I mean, Clayton Tune probably was like, "Where's my helmet?" He had to go out there and had to do pre-snap
Welcome
rated
to life as a
defense.
backup. That's what happens when you're a backup. Oh, you weren't preparing to start, and Kyler Murray has to miss a possession. That's what you want?
Oh man.
And the big pick 6 for 94 yards. And again, I think Clayton Tune probably sticks around, but come on, guys. Like, if you think Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder are good enough as QB2 on this team, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If not, give me a
Well, I
big
mean, we've
thumbs
talked
down.
about what we think probably the best scenario is, and it's another one where you're just like, okay, so now year 2 of this, you've pitted Tune against somebody else, and throughout the preseason and training camp, it's shown to not be a viable option. It's something that I think that they need is, starting with the construction of the initial 2024 53-man roster needs to be addressed, and then seriously addressed this upcoming offseason. Like that's like, as far as your ability to on the fly do that, it becomes pretty, especially when you got teams like the Denver Broncos. They're going to keep all 3 of these guys. Not to say I would want to see them or see any of these guys viable options, despite what Zach Wilson's done today.
I'm gonna be I'll be shocked if either, like, we gave our preview with Craig Morgan,
Yeah,
and I said it last week. Like, I would not be surprised if both these quarterbacks were cut from the Arizona Cardinals.
just don't think you can do that. You got to have somebody with system knowledge. You can't take away anything more from the preparation of this top offense, this first team offense, to get another quarterback up to speed on the fly. Last year was different because it was your first team quarterback.
Would you be concerned that then, like, a Clayton Tune could be claimed or signed by Buffalo for, like, insight? Does that cross your mind, or does that not matter?
Yeah, I don't think that matters.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah, look, I agree. Like, both of them, there's no reason for both of them making it. Ritter has given you no reason to keep him on the roster.
people are saying he might be concussed after hitting the lower body of Christian Jones. Yeah, it's just like we can downplay it on this show. Like, the Cardinals are behind closed doors embarrassed by this product. Like, you score 14, 13, 12 points in the preseason, and your quarterback play is, I would argue that they've had the worst preseason quarterback play of any team when we're talking about one touchdown pass.
Well, I saw the Giants hadn't thrown a touchdown pass all preseason.
Well, okay. Is that the company you want to keep right now? And I know that was Daniel Jones mixed in.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
and I give them immense credit last year from trading for Dobbs and then making Dobbs very viable. But then bridges were burned, and they traded him. He went on a podcast, but you got to almost, to a lesser extent, you got to do that again. You got to go out and get somebody that can come in and back up Kyler Murray this year. If either of these guys back up Kyler Murray this year, it will be a failure on this franchise. And I think they've more or less, since Ossenfort and Gannon took over, they've pushed all the right buttons.
Yeah.
It is irresponsible to list either one of these guys as QB2 right now. It's irresponsible. I won't have it, Bo.
I just can't sit and have like this definitive.
Why not?
It's because it's, like I said, it's 3 preseason games of vanilla play calling. I mean, I don't like what I've seen either, but I'm not sitting here and just saying it is reckless and it is just downright irresponsible, organizational malpractice. I'm not that fired up I'm not going to put that much stock in preseason games. Just as much as I'm not going to put stock in like Zach Wilson's performance today, or Bo Nix's performance the previous 2 games, or DTR's performance from last preseason. Guy looked great, couldn't play in the regular season. It's just like I'm not going to sit here and just and talk like, hey, I'm not getting paid by Tune. I'm not. If Johnny wasn't here and you heard me talk about Tune, it would look less complimentary than you guys think I'm talking like about Clayton Tune.
You're a Clayton Tune show boy, and you always have. I think
David Blau's been coaching. David Blau hasn't taken a snap since last preseason.
The Magic Man. He was great. I love David Blau. I think Clayton Tune should make this roster. I think it's irresponsible to say, hey, Kyler Murray's got to miss this weekend against the Chargers. We're going to put Clayton Tune out there. Screw that. I'm not about that life. They have to get somebody who's starting. And to their credit, that was supposed to be Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder has either regressed horrifically. This is horrifically bad from Desmond Ridder, or he's not a good fit for this team. But works. Do you expect Desmond? Let's start there. Desmond Ridder, is he on the team on Tuesday? He's cut, right? Yeah. He's gone. Yep. So then you have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, who are we adding that has starting experience? And there'll be some options. The Browns have 4 quarterbacks, in my opinion, that could all be of use to the Arizona Cardinals. Now they're not getting rid of Deshaun Watson from a football standpoint.
DTR? Are you including DTR?
I think I'm back on the DTR
train. This is just the biggest, grossest conversation ever.
I was subjected to some of the worst, and preseason football is already bad. This is the worst preseason that I can remember. This is some of the worst slop.
Johnny, you haven't seen a single player that's expected to play significant snaps for this team. Leave a like. Man. Nobody wants to leave a like right now. Get that out of here. Nobody wants to leave a like during this conversation as we rehash this preseason.
Excuse me, I'd like some NFL, please. Yeah, here you go. Here's some slop for the preseason.
Shame on you for expecting something from the preseason.
Oh, I'm sorry that I wanted a little bit of entertainment here during August football to give us some insight into, what this team could look like over 17 games. God forbid. Why even have a broadcast?
JV's DTR love affair last offseason. He can't quit him. He can't quit DTR. Just when he thought he was out, he can't stop. Brought him right back in.
That's right, Chris. I do need to strap up and get out there. When we talk to Jonathan Gannon next year at the Combine, I'm going to be like, JG, what the hell was that preseason, bro?
Yeah, look at C-Level making a great point. 2018, 4-0 in the preseason. How'd that season go?
I think they were 3-1, but they went 3-1 that year. It's not the
You were probably ramped up. You're like, this team.
Of course.
They've got everything.
Josh Rosen looked good at times. Here's what I will say. I don't care about the win-loss thing. Doesn't matter.
You hear what you just said, and then you're just gonna.
Yes, I understand the win-loss factor. That's not a big deal to me. But they have looked awful. They have looked terrible in the preseason. Offensively, when Kyler Murray is a hamstring away from leaving the game, and you think Clayton Tune's gonna be able, he can't do it against 3rd and 4th stringers, 2nd and 3rd stringers. You think he's gonna come out and just pick apart the Seahawks or the Niners or the Rams?
Nobody has that expectation. If you have that expectation, I mean, who's a backup in this league right now that you're just like, oh yeah, it's going to be a seamless trans. If their starter goes down, I feel pretty confident he's going to go out there and rip up the opposing defense.
Every team in the NFC West has a substantially better backup than the Arizona Cardinals. Jimmy Garoppolo, who's
oh my God, Johnny. Stop.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
No.
What's our guy in
Somebody
Seattle?
Cut the fiber and take out his internet. This is embarrassing.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
This is disgusting.
You
should.
Who's the guy?
Damon, you're not going to be able to sleep tonight after saying that.
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell, way better. Sam Howell's way better than
threw 21 picks last year. Stinks.
Oh, come get out of here.
21.
What are you doing? Sam Howell's way better. And then Joshua Dobbs, ever heard of him in San Francisco? The Cardinals are not in the discussion for the tier 2 of backups in the NFC West.
But look at this. Michael Evans saying Dobbs is better, but we know that there's a ceiling to that. And then once he hits the ceiling, he's not better than anybody.
He can come in for a game or two and help you.
That's which the whole thing about a backup. Yeah.
The Cardinals don't have anybody on their roster right now to come in and help. They're going to hurt, not help, hurt this team.
I can't believe you said Jimmy G. You should.
He is what? Get out of here. What? Jimmy Garoppolo is substantially better than Clayton Tune. What are you talking about? Clayton Tune, who put forth the worst tape in like NFL history against the Browns last year. I like Clayton Tune. You're gonna make me like rip the kid.
You already did. You said Jimmy Garoppolo is a better option than him.
Clayton Tune would say that Jimmy Garoppolo is better than I am. Like could command this offense better, and at least
I would hope nobody would ever put him in that situation. I have to answer that.
I hope the Cardinals don't put Clayton Tune.
He'd probably just spit in my face instead. Just hockaloo right in my face.
Yeah, George saying Bo's crazy. Yeah, he is crazy. Jimmy Garoppolo playing a flipping Super Bowl. Thank you, Austin.
That was in 2019.
Clay Davis saying, yeah, here we go. Chat's coming.
That was before the world shut down in 2020. And you guys are going off the tape from 2020. And you're like, oh, in 2024, Jimmy G. In the year 2024 of our Lord, you're going to say Jimmy Garoppolo is worth.
Damon, get in here and weigh in on this. Damon.
I think Johnny's 100% right. How could you say Jimmy Garoppolo, who leads his team to a Super Bowl in his career,
in 2020?
Clayton Tune is terrible,
Bo,
really bad.
So now is Jimmy G.
We've got Stockholm syndrome right now going on. We've watched only Clayton Tune here in Arizona, and it's like everybody else, they have bad backups. No, the Cardinals backups are not like 53-man roster worthy. Most people would say that. We got people online, Twitter right now, calling Clayton Tune like the worst backup in the NFL. We got people who are like, didn't this guy start the Browns game last year and complete like 4 passes?
Right.
They need to go out and get a quarterback like tonight. It almost feels like they need to go get help right now.
Ryan Tannehill.
Isn't he done? Didn't he retire?
I don't know if I think the question, Damon, is would Ryan Tannehill accept the backup quarterback position with the starting quarterback firmly in place? Because he was a dick about Malik Willis back in the day. And guys, that was only like a year ago. You guys are going back 4 years, just so you know. I'm going off recent history. Unbelievable. He went to a Super Bowl.
The chat's great. Like this video. We got almost 800 people watching live for this phenomenal post-game show. It's so flippin' electric. Cardinals lose 38-12 in a lifeless performance in the preseason finale. And again, everybody, you can do this. You can wash your hands of the preseason, but then the regular season comes, and I'm gonna tell you right now, backup QB or not, if the team looks lifeless in week 1, I mean, people are going to have some explaining to do. People are going to be like, well, what was that strategy in the preseason? You basically took those games off, and now you guys don't look ready. But hopefully that is not the case. Roster needs a little bit of fine-tuning here. What about fine-tuning your bets with our friends at Bet365? We're going to talk about some of the standouts of maybe this preseason game. But first, we're going to tell you about our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. I hope to God nobody bet on this game. And if you did, that maybe you took the Broncos and the points, and just don't tell us here on this fine podcast. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, 780,000 events each year, NBA, NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball. You talk about the partners we use at PHNX Sports, and we love them all. Like the minute I heard about Bet365 coming onto this show, onto this platform, I was so fired up because I know how much they have to offer everybody here. Bet and get an offer with the bonus code PHNX365. Place a bet of just $5 or more on your newly created account. You're going to get $150 in bonus bets. Then you can place all your bonus bets on the Cardinals in the preseason. And if you lose them, it doesn't matter. First bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $1,000. If your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in your bonus bets. Of course, we had week 0 of college football yesterday. We are fired up to be kicking off football season with our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out, Bo and Damon, why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Got to be 21 years and older and physically located here in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more information.
That's right. And also, we've got to talk about our fantastic vehicle partner over at Sanderson Ford. We love it. They got the Sanderson Ford Playoff Payoff Sale. No hassle, no pressure, no nonsense. That's their sales approach to you. They're going to get you in your vehicle of your dreams. No problem. No sitting there trying to crunch some numbers and say, hey, let me go see if my manager will sign off on this. And then you end up having a huge car payment with buyer's remorse that you don't want. They're going to get you into the vehicle that you're going to love. They're giving you the big payoffs like 0% financing. Just added a huge Labor Day sale-a-thon with rebates up to $3,400. That's going down here Labor Day weekend, upcoming week here. Purchase or lease any new Ford. You have 4 tickets for you and your family. See the Diamondbacks. Snakes, they're so hot right now. Push for the playoffs. The offer expires September 3rd, so you got to get in quickly here in the next week. Finance offers 36-month OAC through Ford Motor Credit up to $3,400 in rebates on the Ford F-150 XLT. I test drove that, loved it so much, as did my wife and my son. It's so spacious. It's so beautiful inside. They got the gigantic touchscreen right there, center console. That's so comfy, the seats, and then the space in the back. It's unmatched, really. It really is. Check out what they got going on at Sanderson Ford. Get that 0% for 36 months OAC Ford credit. See dealer for details.
Everybody drop a like on this video. If you're on Twitter, welcome. Jump over to the YouTube page, drop a comment, and hit that like. A lot of good stuff going on in the chat. Just because the Cardinals weren't entertaining, that doesn't mean your boys will not be today. We're going to jump in here. Let's do a little counting cards here on a PHNX Cardinals post-game show. Not a lot to highlight in this game. Clayton Tune, let's start with him. 1 scoring drive on the day. Now, he did secure a field goal. I don't think he was helped by the coaching staff on the first drive of the game. I would have gone for that on 4th down. Yeah. You know, you saw Zach Wilson and company continually go for it. It eventually paid off. So I don't understand that rationale. Prater, of course, misses the field goal. Then later, Cardinals are driving inside the 5, and you have a Tony Jones Jr. fumble, which was unfortunate. So, again, Clayton Tune, I would say a byproduct of maybe poor offensive line play and questionable calls. But at the same time, you are what you are. 1 scoring drive. I think he is QB3 on this roster with a competent backup. He deserves a roster spot, but did not light the world on fire, nor did Desmond Ridder, obviously.
Yeah. You did have the Tony Jones fumble there inside the red zone, which probably cost points as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like, as much as we are debating here and pushing back, like there wasn't a whole lot to like. And I agree. And I'm also in agreement with you. Like, QB3, more than likely. Like, you bring in somebody to continue to keep competition and raise the talent level in that room. It's necessary. But I think that the idea that you would just cut both of them, it would be putting you outside. There is no safety net. Even though you would have in place as a safety net is hanging on by a thread. It's not exactly the most. It's not the best situation when you're up there doing a high flying act with this first team offense and a quarterback that's been injured. Hasn't had a full season since 2020. So. I agree with Ozzy 221. I mean, the Battle of Ass, the Battle of Mid, whatever you want to call it, that was on full display in the preseason. So it was like that one drive. It was the one drive where he was able to roll out. It was Christian Jones, who unfortunately got hurt at the end of the game.
Yeah,
missed the block off the edge, and Toon was already had to roll out of pressure and was able to throw 43 yards down the field to Xavier Weaver, and then he also connected with him on another play during that drive that turned into points. So Xavier Weaver, 56 receiving yards. Like what you saw a good return from Xavier Weaver to open the game. So, with the Zay Jones suspension, I like Zay Weaver as a guy that could crack this roster. I think I like him, more than the guy that they spent a draft pick on in T-Palms.
Yeah, and you saw Xavier Weaver with the separation, got deep a couple times, errant throws, missed throws by Clayton Tune where he was open. And if that's an accurate ball, he has an even bigger day, Brock. But I think, just a chess piece. You could use him in the, screen game, vertical passing game. You can use him as a returner. Bunch of different stuff from the former Colorado Buff that I think would make it an egregious error. Like, you want young players on your team like this to mold and develop. I saw somebody, is he the next Greg Dortch? I think he's faster than Greg Dortch. Obviously, Dortch plays like a running back playing wide receiver. Xavier Weaver, to me, is little bit like our guy Britton Golden. Reminds me of Britton Golden, watching him out there on the field. Cameron Thomas, last member of Counting Cards here, 1 sack on the day, was disruptive. We mentioned on the halftime show, Bo, playing a little bit inside and outside. So I think that position versatility is going to help him. He bulked up a little bit back to his weight. He's comfortable playing that after losing weight and putting back on weight. So just feels good in JG's scheme. And I think in a position group right now that I would just say tentatively is completely in flux with issues abound. It's like, is this guy is he an every down starter that's going to get you 10 sacks? I don't think anybody expects that. But can he give you some life in the second or third quarter off the bench? Can he help come in and be a relentless guy? Number 97? I think so. So again, I think it would be pretty shocking if Cameron Thomas didn't make this team given his preseason. And right now, then you question, assuming obviously Xavier Thomas is safe, how many outside linebackers are they going to keep? And let's talk about that, Bo Brock, because another, sackless preseason game for Victor Dimukeje. Jesse Luketa had a sack. It looks good at times. Do you see a scenario in which they cut Victor Dimukeje and they opt to just go with 5 right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, we talk about the 2 players in Cameron Thomas and Luketa, who I think that took advantage of the opportunity that was unfortunately created with somebody that had huge expectations for him in BJ Ojulari going down, and still haven't made a move. And we'll see between now and what, other rosters, put out there and expose in the waiver wire and make available through roster cuts. But Luketa, he had the strip sack, or he caused the fumble last week, and then he had the sack today, and then Cameron Thomas leading the team in sacks this preseason, and then showing his versatility to bump from outside linebacker inside on the D line. He showed that he's got a role. And so I think Luketa too, like if you're trying to make the decision between Luketa and Dimukeje, Luketa made his point this preseason. Where Dimukeje, I think he was close. It's just, did he make the plays when they were there? I don't think you can say that for him.
I think Cardinal fans, including myself, want to see a flurry of moves to this position group, and it may be a predicate of who's actually made available, right? Like I think we could sit here on Tuesday and say like, oh yeah, I'd love that guy, I'd love this guy, but in all actuality, those teams, and I tweeted this out last time, teams aren't looking to give away pass rush help because we see how valuable it is for the Cardinals. Like Cameron Thomas is a guy who, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we'd be like, yeah, he's probably not going to make the team to, well, yeah, you probably need to keep him around, especially with the injuries to Ojulari and now Darius Robinson. So I think it changes every day, seemingly. This team now, though, I mean, this is who they are, for better or worse. They could pick up a guy or 2 or 3 in the coming days, but it's not going to change the landscape of the team. But can it help clean up, 1 to 2 possessions that could win them a game? We'll see. But again, the Reddick situation, I think we continue to monitor that. The Jets pass rush looks good this preseason. They've given no indication that he's going to show up. They're going to pay him. So again, like I've always been of the mindset, like if this goes into the regular season, that benefits the Cardinals and the other teams that could be interested. Because then at that point, the Jets are just like, what are we doing? This is the team we have. So maybe something comes to a head, not necessarily this week, but game week, preparation week. The Jets just want to wash their hands of it. So it almost feels like right now with the pass rush situation at hand, like I think if the Cardinals had to put a waiver claim on somebody, I think they're doing it at quarterback before pass rusher. Would you agree with that? Based on the need? Or do you think it's less likely that other teams are going to claim quarterbacks because they feel confident in their group?
No, I mean, I think that there is a certain confidence in your guy and the guy that knows your system. I still think because I was just going to say, we talk about the first team offense and the now pressure to perform after kind of getting the preseason off. Like the biggest pressure to perform right now is the edge group. Like
gotcha.
Because I think that you've seen, this roster and where they put resources, right? And then they decided to kind of go the status quo with the edge room, even giving an extension to Zaven Collins. I think that kind of creates some pressure for them to say, like, they didn't play in the preseason either. And, I think that's a place where you really want to kind of have some sort of, I know they talk about momentum, is it real or not? But like, you have a little momentum, at least have some reps under your belt and getting after opposing quarterbacks. So I think there's immediate pressure for this outside linebackers room, edge rush group to create early pressure and show and differentiate themselves from the guys that were fighting for roster spots. Because if they don't, then that's also a big indictment on the room.
Yeah. Get to some of these super chats again. We read a couple here. Let's jump into Mike's $9.99 super chat.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Worried about the depth on the O-line and the defensive line, or maybe just on defense in general. I think the offensive line settled down as the game went on, but I mean, the tackle depth right now is a little bit concerning. Kelvin Beachum is your only proven commodity. Christian Jones did not have a good preseason, and it's unfortunate he got hurt today, Bo. But I mean, I think they could piece together a strong enough interior. They could sub in guys, over the course of the year, like John Gaines, etc. Maybe Isaiah Adams when he's ready. That they could be okay there. But the minute you start screwing with tackle play, especially for a quarterback like Kyler Murray that likes to move around, that would be an issue. And so I wonder too, if there's a tackle available that they like here in the next couple of days, does that become a situation where you pluck somebody?
Well, yeah, we'll see what the latest on Jones is. And we had started the broadcast already, and we didn't see the injury when it was the roughing the passer. And Ritter also, who went into the tent, was hurt on it. But it seemed like Jones was maybe something that could linger beyond this. And you saw him as kind of a draft and stash. I don't think there was any situation where you feel comfortable with him being on the field given his performance this preseason. But does he, is he somebody that's a candidate to maybe miss some time going IR? We'll see. A complete speculation, but I remember just based off in the sample size of Monti Ossenfort and how he just kind of moved and maneuvered his roster. He looked at some offensive linemen that, maybe they brought in some top 30s, had been monitoring since the draft, and maybe he would be apt to switch in and out, but nobody that they would expect to kind of play a role for this team, but get into onto the roster and get some snaps in practice and get integrated into this system. I'm going to say something, and I think some of you who are a little squeamish maybe can do some earmuffs. But I think if Christian Jones is going to miss some time, I'm just looking at who could work their way into a roster spot. It'd be Elijah Wilkinson.
Oh my God. Yeah, that'd be unfortunate. But I mean, you could argue that Wilkinson's, I don't want to say outplayed Christian Jones, but I think they've been equally bad this preseason. But you would rather give the nod to the rookie development guy. Played at Texas for forever. So we'll see. I don't want to overreact to injuries that aren't reported, but
just the quarterback.
Because that's been horrendous, and those guys are veterans. Let me ask you a question. We'll get back to these super chats in a minute, because there's some speculation on the Twitter streets. So Michael Carter Jr. did not play today. DeMercado was out there casually playing special teams. Do you believe that Michael Carter Jr. was specifically held out today because the Cardinals could potentially move him before they cut him ahead of Tuesday? I think I saw multiple Twitter accounts saying that he's due $3 million. So could the Cardinals trade him to keep his value, or could they just trade him outright so they wouldn't have to pay an injury settlement? Could that be in play? Because I do wonder if DeMercado's listed ahead of him on the depth chart, and DeMercado is at least playing the role he's going to play on Sundays, which is special teams. What's Michael Carter doing? Not dressing, or why isn't he participating? So, I think we were pretty in lockstep at halftime. Oh, that's a good sign. Is it a good sign?
Yeah, I think it's a great sign for Michael Carter.
Okay.
I mean, I think he provides more value to him in his role that we saw him play at a good clip last year.
Okay.
I mean, we've talked about it all the time. I mean, he's proven to be kind of a guy that can energize this offense when sometimes things got a little stagnant.
Yeah.
And it was tough, right? I mean, if you can turn one of your depth pieces and your role players into filling a need, sure, go do it. But I'd be hard pressed to think you could go find and flip a Michael Carter for backup quarterback or an edge rusher.
I was just going to ask you, could that be in play? Could Michael Carter be traded for? I mean, they traded Rondale Moore for a backup quarterback.
I mean, I don't think it's out of the, I don't think it's out of the question, but I just don't know. Like you would, if you're an organization and you've got a viable quarterback now, it's probably your backup. And if you've got a guy that can create pressure against a quarterback or do the things that they want from their edge rushers, I just don't. And I immediately think about Dallas, right? It's the most, team that's void of a viable running back in the league, and Carter would fit really well there.
Yeah.
But like, do they have somebody that you would view as like, hey, we're going to weigh this thing and Michael Carter's role and what his production could be versus what we would get in return and what that player's role would be on this team? I think it would be tough.
I would be disappointed if they cut him and or traded him as well, especially for a backup QB, because they've had an opportunity to keep their Ossenfort at that position forever. And they're having a tough, like, can we at least admit, because I know you're not putting the same kind of level.
Here's what I'm going to say.
They
brought it. We know what they've said about Clayton Tune. Yep. And they wanted to see where he was. And I've said this and I'll maintain this. He's got incrementally better. Okay. He hasn't gotten a lot better. He hasn't blown you away, but he's gone from, a guy that's about 55% completion percentage to about 65% completion percentage. He's making some throws downfield, about the athleticism, but still apt to make some bad decisions or hold on to the ball too long. But like, they did the right thing in bringing in competition.
They did.
It was just the wrong guy. It's just the wrong guy. Like you look at the stats, like, and I'm sure, the tape probably would have told you more. I mean, anytime I watched Desmond Ridder run offense, it looked awful, right? But, I think that there's, confidence and some call it arrogance or being naive, like that you can be the system and the coaching staff to get that guy on the right track, like a near 500 quarterback in this league. And he came out and he just didn't compete. He wasn't competitive. Couldn't even get to the level of Clayton Tune this preseason. And that's it. That's an indictment on him.
On him. And I think 2 consecutive off seasons, they have made a decision with regard to that position in the spring through preseason that has been the wrong one. And I think that at the end of the day, publicly, privately, whatever, you have to acknowledge that, and that is a blind spot right now for this new regime, where last year, not signing Dobbs in the spring, rolling with Colt McCoy, who had a dead arm. He was running as QB1 mostly for the entire summer into the preseason. And then this spring, Desmond Ridder operating largely as QB2. And you're going to cut him now too. Like, that's pretty wild. That doesn't happen that often in the NFL. And you could say, well, we have the elixir now. We have Kyler Murray. And I agree with that. When Kyler Murray is healthy, unequivocally, he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But again, back to my original point, like, he has not been healthy for 17 games. Maybe they feel like
think about the high. Think about like what you consider is like a good backup, a proven commodity backup. Think about the guys who were available this year. Just run them off the top of your head. Jacoby Brissett starting. Can you compete with a starting role?
Sam Howell, I would say,
stinks.
A high. Come on.
He threw 21 picks last year, Johnny.
Yeah, as a starter, but he also didn't he throw like 23 or 24 touchdowns? Like, that's all you want? You want a guy who can come in. I'm being serious. I'm not being a dipshit here.
I guarantee you. He come in and he looked bad in the preseason.
1-to-1 interception TD ratio. Do you have confidence Clayton Tune could come in and have a 1-to-1 touchdown and interception ratio? I don't. Okay, so beyond Sam Howell, okay, Carolina's backup, right?
Yeah.
Andy Dalton. Okay, that's probably not a great example. You're right, though. Like Minshew, he's a starter. They thought he was going to be a backup.
Yeah.
What do the Jets got going on here? Aaron Rodgers.
Tyrod Taylor's probably your best option.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor would be way better than what the Cardinals have going on right now. But again, I think you have to put an asterisk on that with where are the teams who have quarterbacks who have missed time in the past, who are I don't give two shits who Josh Allen's backup is. He doesn't miss games. I don't care about Mahomes' backup. Who are the guys in the NFL? They're a good player, but they're hurt all the time. Like, I guess maybe Cincinnati. Who's backing up Joe Burrow? Jake Browning, and that's bad. So if I was a Bengal fan, I wouldn't be happy about that.
Who is like fully like, hey, we're in a good spot.
I think Seattle has to feel pretty good. I mean, the Eagles with Kenny Pickett at least is like a confident guy that could come in. No, that's a bad example. He's terrible. Kenny Pickett's terrible. I couldn't even finish my sentence there. I'm looking at these quarterbacks in real time, and it's forcing Bo to leave the screen. No,
I think, Damon, are your ears bleeding to part of this conversation?
I don't think Johnny's crazy. Clayton Tune is that bad, Bo. Dude, he's that bad.
Oh my God, Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, that's
Kenny Pickett is pretty bad. I might be out on that one.
Yeah. Well, no, I corrected myself as I read that off.
Yeah.
It's like Michael Scott. I could hear that coming out of my mouth, and I know it was the incorrect thing to say.
Bo, would you rather have Tyson Bagent?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I would. 1,000%.
They said he would have beaten out Fields if Fields was still in Chicago. Like, he looked better than Fields this training camp. Which that's its own conversation of just.
I honestly haven't watched a lot of Tyson Bagent this preseason. I mean, I know
Why
I
not?
saw.
Why not? All right.
Malik Willis is an interesting guy.
Here's
the ties there. There's ties there.
That would have been a gem of an addition to have Malik Willis to watch him during the preseason instead of the slog that we just went through. Here's the good news. You're going to get, Cardinal fans, a new QB.
Stop? Can I request that the chat stop saying Trace McSorley? Like, we've seen Trace McSorley.
He's with
Cliff the devil you know versus the one you don't know. And I know Trace McSorley.
Do you agree we're getting a new quarterback in the next 3 days?
Yeah, I do.
We're getting a new quarterback. A brand new QB2 is coming to town.
But he's not going to be QB2 right away.
Yeah, he will be. Come on.
Stop.
Well, you sound like the people who said that Dobbs wasn't going to start last year. Have we learned those lessons?
Here's my point. I made it earlier. And we
must not have been listening.
When I said, like, this team is so, like, laser focused on it's the players that they expect to contribute to this team, their first team players and their high volume backups, that I just think that at this point, like, get Kyler Murray, your quarterback coach, Israel Wolfwork, Drew Petzing, to get a backup quarterback up to speed in the next 2 weeks. It's just different than last year. There's not going to be the opportunity to get the snaps in practice and everything that would take to get that person ready to be, the one play away guy in Buffalo. I think that's I think probably unrealistic. But if you get a guy and, like, you just have Clayton Tune as your backup going into Buffalo and then maybe against the Rams and then up to speed by week 3 against the Lions, then he takes over. That's all I'm saying.
You think they carry 3 quarterbacks?
I mean, probably for the first week, yeah, for sure. And then
then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But, like, anybody, depending on who they acquire, let's say it's a notable addition on Monday or Tuesday. Like, they can put Clayton Tune as QB2. Everybody in this chat and with the organization it's not QB2.
Yeah, I agree with Salty Vet. I saw Mike White. I sent that to Johnny today, and he basically
I'm warming up after what I saw today. I'm warming up to that.
Do you know you don't know ball? That's what he told me.
Say that. I said I don't want Miami's, respectfully, I don't want Miami's trash, but I'm open to the idea now. We got almost 1,000 people watching live. Everybody come over and hit a like. Let's get 1,000 likes on this postgame show because I think we deserve it for having to endure this preseason. We're going to get back to these super chats here. Nothing better to do. Oh, well, I disagree with that. $4.99. Good thing it's trash day soon. Perfect segue. Lots of shit to throw out. Ready for some starters in the new blood. Oh my God. Listen. I can appreciate the super chat merely by the fact that we had to endure some of the worst football in recent preseason memory. So you deserve all the MHJ highlights week 1, nothing better to do. Some, Buda Baker tackles for loss. I'm right there with you because Cardinal fans, thank God they don't charge for, open practice, because if fans had to pay for this preseason, like a ton of money, I know preseason tickets cost money, not very much, people would be upset. It's a good thing that when Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. were on the field, it was free for fans, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, what's not to like about that? It's great. It's great that you can go take in some, actually watch, players that are going to contribute.
Yeah.
Hit the practice field, make some plays. What do we got? Potato bread? At least we can finally move on and start the regular season. We already get to that one, $4.99.
Yeah, we got Doc XD $1.99. Get me week one now, Bo.
I was saying that 55 minutes and 47 seconds ago. I mean, I think all of us were saying that. Actually, maybe 3-4 hours ago. Get us to week one. Absolutely. How about Ethan F it. Trade for Daniel Jones, $1.99. Thank you, Ethan. We appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you, Ethan, but no, thank you. I'd like to say to that. PR Mac, $2. Still the preseason and it's starters league. Agreed. But the Cardinals would you say the Cardinals, PR Mac, and Bo Brock had a bad preseason? Like, if they're like, how's the preseason? Oh, it was good. No one would say that.
Nobody would say that.
It was bad.
I think and that's preseason football, right? And especially in year 2 of a rebuild. Did you find players that Rabbit Taylor Demerson, Xavier Thomas? Hey, you can contribute. You can come on over, cross the line from, are you going to make this roster? Or are you going to be just, filling out a spot and being developed? Or can you help us now? Come on over. Cameron Thomas. Yep. Good job. Get over here, buddy. Clayton Tune, Desmond Ritter, not so fast. I think
where
that's
do you think you're going. Turn around. This is like Red Rover.
Right.
Turn around. We don't want to see you.
You're trying to get in the club. It's like, are you bringing any girls with you? No? Okay. Yeah. Back to the line. That's what you're going to get. I think you wanted to see somebody surprise you as far as the offensive line depth and the defensive line depth, but it's going to be very top heavy to start, right? Who your starting 5 are on the offensive line. I think Beach, he can be the swing tackle. Isaiah Adams is a bit more of a project, but I think you can see with some seasoning early in the year could probably get himself to where he could play if he needed to. So that's a little bit of depth. And then beyond that, there's not much there. The defensive line, the D-Rob thing, it's like Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, Rolo, and LJ Collier and Dante Stills. It's like, if you got to get somebody beyond that who you saw play today, you're in a tough spot. You were just seeing, them getting pushed off, blown off the line of scrimmage, and the Broncos kind of do what they want.
Mike Sabo, $4.99, concerned about the backup depth on defense. Bo, I think you were just alluding to that. I would echo that, but we didn't see one starter defensively for the most part. Like Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, Kazir White, Buda, Jalen, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Mac Wilson. None of these guys played. So it's like, I'm more concerned, Murray, about can these guys play together when the regular season starts? What does this unit look like? I haven't seen it yet. I have a good idea of what K1 looks like in this offense, sans Marvin Harrison Jr., because we watched it last year. And then Noli Mitt Suave, maybe $1.99. Johnny can't finish a steak QB2.
Man,
well,
that's true.
That's tough. I would finish a 12-ounce porterhouse right now in front of you. It means I never had to watch this preseason again. We're going to get to Craig Morgan here, talk a little bit about his insights as well as his recent article at gophnx.com about the state of this 53-man roster as the discussion continues. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about my friends at Circle K. Circle K, America's thirst stop right now. They've got a new free membership program. Ever heard of it? The Inner Circle, friends. It's going to save you money, not only inside but outside. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. And folks, thirst has met their match, but hey, you got about a week left. Enjoy your membership. Now through September 3rd, you're going to get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents. Go do it. Go do it right now. All you got to do is download the Circle K app today. Click on Inner Circle-offers. And again, a Polar Pop of any size, big, little, small, whatever you want, or a Froster, 79 cents. Circle K helping to save you money every single time you go. Join the Inner Circle, gentlemen, for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details, Bo.
Circle K, definitely the spot you want to stop before going maybe to your next event. Maybe Diamondbacks game, Chase Field. How about Labor Day versus the Dodgers? Tough to beat that, right? And they've got a 50% off tickets to see the D-backs take on the Dodgers. A battle for the NL West coming up next weekend, exclusively on Game Time, limited availability supply. Get your tickets while they last. And then here's all you have to do, right? You just go download in the App Store the Game Time app right now. You sign up for a free account and you start to get in right now on the Diamondbacks. You know, they're hosting the Mets. They've got the Dodgers that come to town. Rangers. What's that, Johnny?
Hottest team in baseball right now.
Hottest team in baseball. And you can save 50% on tickets right now. Staying away from, as you've got so many great promotions going on, but it's tough to beat what's going on with the Diamondbacks and their Labor Day offer. Just go on to the app right now. And then, of course, once you lock in those tickets, you put in the promo code PHNX, you get $20 off your first purchase. If it is, terms apply. Again, create that account, redeem code PHNX, $20 off your purchase. Download Game Time today. Time is it? It's game time. It's nearly actually game time for the Arizona Cardinals. So they'll be starting in Buffalo, and then they've got 3 weeks at home at State Farm Stadium. You're going to want to have the Game Time app handy, because that's the best place you're going to be able to find tickets for the lowest price guaranteed.
Jump on to Game Time. Speaking of jumping on, here's Craig Morgan, PHNX Cardinals beat reporter. Check out his work, of course, here on PHNX Cardinals podcast, as well as GoPHNX.com. You're awake, Craig. You didn't fall asleep during the preseason finale, correct?
Barely. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I didn't even shave for you guys today. My wife told me I look homeless, and I said I don't care because I just had to watch that preseason game. So I'm guessing you guys have beat this to death by now, since you're more than an hour deep in the post-game show of a god-awful preseason game that came at the end of a god-awful preseason. So what's left to discuss here? Let me know.
Here's what we can discuss. Bo thinks everything's fine, and the in great shape.
I'm sure that's just how it went.
For 30 minutes, basically, Bo was telling me that Clayton Tune's the best backup in the NFL, that he looked fantastic, that he's gotten better. And that we're good to go. So, of course, tongue in cheek, but how do you?
Johnny's running into movie theaters and yelling fire, and then running out. It's just a standard show, Craig. I mean, you know what you're walking into.
All right, Craig, you know where we stand on this. What's your take of the quarterback position right now for the Cardinals after watching it through training camp? You've seen it at training camp, and then the preseason, which, in my opinion, the right opinion, has not gone well.
I came in fresh, actually. I had to assemble my daughter's kitchen table earlier, so I came in fresh. I'm not sure where you got. I got an idea where you guys stand on this right now. But listen, first off, and I'm sure Bo said this already because Bo's a reasonable guy. The preseason, it's really hard to form any conclusions. There are too many variables. You're not seeing the starters. Hell, you're not even seeing the backups now. You're running vanilla offenses, vanilla defenses. That said, I didn't come out of this preseason thinking the Cardinals have a backup quarterback. Clayton Tune still looks like a developmental project to me. He still looks like the guy that belongs in that number 3 slot. And I mean, we have beaten this to death. Des Ridder just doesn't even look like he belongs on this roster. It feels like they need to go out and get a veteran quarterback that can fill in. And obviously, if Kyler Murray goes down for any length of time, forget about it. It's over. The season's over. But do you have a guy that you can have fill in for 2 to 3 games, maybe get you a win or two, maybe feel confident in the offense, help you survive that stretch when Kyler Murray's out? I don't feel like they have that now. I want to put all those qualifiers on about the preseason because they're all relevant. Mm-hmm. But I just came away not feeling like there's a backup quarterback on this roster right now.
I mean, speaking my language. I mean, I agree, but I think that we're all in lockstep. We get there in a different way. That, you know, it's strange to think that you need a bridge to your QB too, but I think Tune is probably your best option for that. And I think that's the only realistic scenario for the Cardinals is you keep 2 quarterbacks from the current roster in Kyler Murray and Clayton Tune. You cut Ridder, and then you try to find out, who becomes available, and you add them to a roster, and then you get them acclimated to the system. It's just such a tough position to play and come in. And like, I know people are skeptical whether or not Clayton Tune can run an offense in a regular season game, and you should be, based on his preseason performance and his actual regular season start that he made last year. Long way to go.
And just another lack of experience, right? You don't have any tape to prove it. Yeah.
Sure. But getting the guy in there, getting here and learning the offense, I think it would do wonders to, I think the confidence of the coaching staff and the fan base.
Let me ask you this, and maybe you guys have said this, so apologies if I'm just repeating and bringing lousy content, which followed that lousy game. But can you bring a guy in at this point and get him up to speed in the short amount of time that you have left, especially when Kyler Murray's healthy now, so he's going to be taking a lot of the reps, right? Yep. Can you do that? Can you get a guy ready in time?
Yeah, absolutely. Because they did last year with Dobbs. Now he was their QB1. Dobbs looked very competent against Washington, and even more so against the Giants. And then you beat the Cowboys in week 3 last year. And that's what gives me faith that this coaching staff with Drew Petzing can take a guy with a skill set and make him competent when the lights are on. But whomever they get to be their QB2, they're going to have to run scout team. And that's a big deal, right? And Tune, I guess, could do a good job of that. But to your point, Craig, they're not going to need this person to suit up week 1 and take snaps as quarterback 1. You would hope, please God. But I think you have probably about a 3 to 4 week window to get somebody caught up. Yeah, you could absolutely do that.
I say no. I think that takes away, it distracts from what the goal is to get this first team ready to play against, the Buffalo Bills. And I think you get the right guy on the roster and you bring him along. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying take the reps with the starters. No. Right. I just, and having to take away time in the meeting room and have Kyler Murray try to get somebody up to speed on their offense. No, if he wants to go be a fly in the wall and retain information from those things. But I just think it's unrealistic to get somebody in for Buffalo, probably even against the Rams in week 2, to kind of be in a spot to where they could come in that one play away scenario and take over for Kyler Murray. I think, unfortunately, your best option right now is Clayton Tune in the interim. Yeah,
you're just hoping that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they need to bring somebody in to begin a cram session, in my opinion. Have a what equates to a GA in college, an assistant of an assistant. Say, here's your playbook. You know the terminology. You've been in the NFL for a couple of years. Hopefully, you've started games. We expect you to study on your own time if you want to have a prolonged shelf life on this roster. And then we'll decide what we're going to do on game day. I'm not saying prioritize this person during practice or whatever, but you need that person in-house. And the more I think about it, the more I think there's a better chance that they trade for a quarterback again than I think that they would wait to claim somebody. Could be totally wrong. Maybe they get word that somebody's going to be released. They talk to an agent. They talk to a GM. They're just we're going to cut this guy. But if you saw last year with Dobbs, and then this offseason, when they identified a backup that they like, they go out and they trade for him. So it would not surprise me tomorrow when they start making cuts, where they start the process, that we get a notification the Cardinals have traded a 2026 6th rounder or 7th rounder for a guy that's going to be cut. That. Yeah. I'm expecting that at this point based on their track record.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, we had even though it didn't work out with Des Ridder. Sorry, go ahead.
And look, I mean, you don't want to give him too many points for that the failed Desmond Ridder experiment, but I think that was, hey, we're gonna see if this guy in our system, if it can give him new life at the NFL level as a backup, not a starter, and it just showed that was too much for him. But it also provided competition for Tune, and I've said this, Craig, and the audience is probably sick of it now. He showed improvement, little improvement, not enough to where you're confident he can hold the job as QB2, but continues to be a draft pick of this organization and continues to go up a little bit. And look, the pick 6 was brutal. He came in for Ritter after the injury, and it's his first turnover of the offseason of preseason. You look at his numbers, they're not terrible. 1 touchdown, 1 pick, a couple scoring drives here and there. But guys, we had the conversation, the bubble players, right? The bubble boys, the article's out there, go PHNX.com. Craig, anybody stand out to you today that won a job, in a roster spot from the preseason finale?
Yeah, again, at the risk of repeating what you guys have already said, Cameron Thomas showed up again, right? I think he has all preseason, so I think he's on this roster. Xavier Weaver with the injury or not the injury, the suspension to Zay Jones, he's got to be on this roster as well. The two positions that continue to intrigue me, running back and cornerback. I don't know what the play is today at running back with Michael Carter not playing. Demercado, of course, on special teams, what they're going to do there, that still intrigues me. And then cornerback, have we had a report yet on Elijah Jones' injury? I don't even know what his situation is. Keitrell Clark, maybe not some great play early on, but he also had a play where he blew up a run play because he got penetration into the backfield. So I don't know what's happening at either of those positions yet. I'm really curious what the play is in both of those spots.
Yeah, Whitehead got hurt. Yeah, I mean, this was a pretty costly preseason finale injury-wise for a lot of, not bubble players, but some depth pieces. And like, I would say Christian Jones is probably in much greater trouble than I anticipated, even when we recorded the bubble conversation. Like, has not been good this preseason. And even though he's a rookie, like, you could question, well, how high is his ceiling? He played forever at Texas. And then if he's hurt now, but you're not going to cut him if he's hurt. You might just put him on IR and just say, hey, we'll see you next year. I don't know. And hopefully it's not a serious injury. I don't wish that on him, but their tackle play is concerning, Craig. I think the depth at running back, good problem to have. But again, Michael Carter not dressing, what does that mean? Demercado playing special teams, what does that mean? And then, the secondary, you're not getting rid of Elijah Jones. He's a third rounder. So like Keitrell Clark, I would say he's a little hit or miss today. So to me, it's like a lot of these are first world problems because, again, like, how much is it going to greatly impact this team? I would say minimal compared to what we're talking about at quarterback and then pass rusher, which we haven't really deciphered through. Are they going to make a notable addition of pass rusher? I think because of how bad Toon and Ritter have been over the last couple of weeks, it's kind of taken a back seat. But, Craig, I think cutting Michael Carter Jr. would be a massive, massive error. But we talked about it before you jumped on. Is there a possibility he's got $3-4 million due to him, worried about maybe an injury settlement if he goes down in this game, or the small chance, but a chance that they deal him before the start of the regular season, where you've got Demercado's in his role right now playing special teams, DJ Dallas is returning kicks, and then the other two guys are your bell cows. So, like, does he get dealt? Do they trade for a quarterback and then they recoup the pick that they traded for a quarterback with the trade? We saw Ossenfort make 3 trades in one day yesterday, a year ago. So he could absolutely do it again.
Yeah, it's fair to wonder about that, or a pass rusher, right? I don't know what they're going to do at that position either. I know we were talking a while ago about it just being a warm body, but now with Darius out as well, it just feels like, and I know Darius isn't necessarily an edge player, although they were going to move him around and he was going to give you some impact there. It just feels like they need to make a move out there. And I wrote this a while back to, look, there are a few players on this roster who probably think, oh, I wouldn't mind if they didn't make a move. It's going to give me an opportunity. But when you look at the roster as a whole and you tell the team, we're in a situation now where we feel like we can win. Well, then how do you turn around and not make a move like that and fill a glaring weakness? What does that say to the guys in the room when you're not filling that glaring weakness that everybody's been talking about all off season? And now it's just gotten more pronounced with the loss of players.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously it takes a lot of buy-in, right? And sticking to it and hearing the messaging from the coaching staff, the front office alike. And I think obviously there's players in those respective rooms that are appreciative of the opportunity. You hope one of them capitalizes on it, but I'm sure, like, you see it all the time. I mean, it's been throughout the history of the game. Like, players, they see the glaring needs, and if teams aren't active in filling those, people get frustrated. And as an organization, you sometimes won't be taken seriously. So, but I think where the Arizona Cardinals are and trying to build a sustainable, consistent winner, they are weighing the options as far as, obviously what the market's going to, have available, and then what it's going to cost to get, somebody to fill that need. And if it doesn't match with what they want to do organizationally, I don't know if they're going to just kind of reach for that. I think that they can dig in, and some people call it stubborn, but I think so far, you just got to trust Monti Ossenfort and what the direction and the path of this organization is going to be.
If they do make that decision, I hope we at least hear from Monti where he can walk people through his thought process. I hope we get a detailed thought process. Because again, this is a guy in his second year as a GM. It's a rebuild. Okay, at least enlighten us on your philosophy. Make us understand what you're doing here. I hope we get that at least.
I'm with you, Craig, because the conversation, the argument that I've continued to make is you can put an asterisk on this rebuild because of what you're paying Kyler Murray and then the expectation to win this year with Kyler Murray. That's a real expectation. You're not, I mean, you had a chance to pivot off K1 and get a rookie quarterback. There were 6 that went earlier, 5 or 6. And you said, nope, we're going to not reset our timeline. This is our timeline because this is our quarterback. But then, talk out of both sides of your mouth, respectfully saying, well, this is also a rebuilding team. You got a quarterback in the prime years of his winning career. That's why I've never bought, they have retooled dramatically. He's done a masterful job. He's added over 20 rookies through his own rookie classes alone the last 2 years. And he's freed up cap space.
Look at what's going on in Los Angeles, though. Matthew Stafford was the quarterback of a team last year that, you look at the roster and this is a rebuild. And they got consistent play from that position, and it put them ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
and
but
they had holes. They still they have holes on that roster. They had horrendous holes going in 2023. I mean, you got to draft, you got to develop, and you have to have confidence in your ability to do that, especially if that's your mission statement. And I just think that, look, I'm not telling you that Kyler Murray needs to elevate his team and put him on his back and take him to a postseason. But if they want to be a playoff team, that's realistically how it's going to happen year 2 in a rebuild.
Yeah, I respect that take. I just think Sean McVay coaches the LA Rams, and I love Jonathan Gannon, and I hope he gets to that hierarchy and he wins the Super Bowl for this franchise. But I think that having those kind of expectations, the Rams caught people by surprise last year because everybody assumed they weren't going to be any good. They just won the Super Bowl. They have the same quarterback that won the Super Bowl for them. They had the best defensive player in the NFL. I know that their depth wasn't great and they lost key pieces, but the infrastructure was still there. And they had to clean up a lot of their messes. The Cardinals came in with a clean slate, and they've added a bunch of cheap talent, and they've got a bunch of money, and they pay their quarterback big time money, top 10 money. But then they want to have their cake and eat it too with this rebuilding timeline. I'm sorry. And I continue to beat this horse, and I will do it all year if push comes to shove. If the Cardinals miss the playoffs this year and Kyler Murray is up and down, the narrative will be Cardinals need to move off of Kyler Murray. Jonathan Gannon's on the hot seat entering year 3. That's not
because of the
that's
pass
just
rush.
The NFL, though.
But that's not because of a lack of a pass rush. It's not because you don't have the right outside linebacker.
Because the roster isn't fortified in certain areas. If Baker Mayfield doesn't,
people are going to be able to tell that if Kyler Murray in this offense goes out and averages, 26, 27, 28 points per game, and they're losing because they can't make a stop at the end of the game, people he'll get a pass for that.
I don't think that's a fair expectation to just say, hey, the offense has to carry this team for 17 games and be perfect. I also think with the timeline of the teams that you play in the first 8 weeks and the Pro Bowl quarterbacks that you're going to be facing, I think it's safe to say Kyler Murray's not going to outduel every one of those 8 quarterbacks, but you have a defense that can stand up and help him. Like last year at the end of the year, it's okay, they played complimentary football at times. That's all I'm saying. But because I don't want that narrative in 2025 to be, you know what? They missed their window of adding a couple key pieces, because I don't take playoff bursts for granted here. I think I hate the term rebuild with this team right now. If they had Drake May or Jaden Daniels or even Caleb Williams and Bo Nix, you could say take your time, go through the motions, develop. No, they have to win. They have to win games this year. And to sit here with the backup quarterback situation, a complete dumpster fire, no additions to the pass rush, and then you lose your best pass rusher, and then one of your first-round picks that can also rush the passer is set to miss 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you sit there on claim day, and they haven't done this yet, and just kind of put your feet up. People, and you're playing Josh Allen week 1. People are gonna be like, "What are you doing? Are we done? Was that it? Was the high of this year in April when we took Harrison Jr. 3rd overall? Or 4th overall? Because that's what it'll feel like."
Yeah.
All right. We're going to find all that out in the next couple of days. So, but I got to, since I'm here to start fires anyway, I got to put both of you on the spot here.
All right.
And like I said, I came in fresh, so I'm guessing there's been a little bit of this before I arrived. But how much concern does this winless preseason create for the two of you? Who wants to go? Okay, I think I've touched a nerve here. Okay.
First.
I just don't have. I mean, we talked about it. Like the 2018 team went 3-1. Like the teams that when it was Warner in the great passing attack, they were awful in the preseason. It was just there was no sense of urgency to win football games in the exhibition season. I just don't see that from this coaching staff. Like if I asked Jonathan Gannon tomorrow, Craig, at 8:30, and said, you know, did you want to win that game against the Broncos? He's gonna hell yeah. Like you line them up and you play and you coach to win the game. But you know, at the end of the day, their focus is winning week 1 against Buffalo, and they wanted to put themselves in the best position to do that. So I'm not gonna sit here and say, well, shit, they went 0-3. Let's hit the panic button. And I'm not saying that's what my co-host Johnny Venerable is going to tell you, but I think that they got some value from the preseason, regardless of the 0-3 finish, to where they could find out who could be some depth pieces, especially to supplement the pass rush in XT and Cameron Thomas. And then like Rabbit could be a guy that could play in the defensive secondary, and maybe who are some guys on the offensive line that can help out. And that should be enough. I mean, that's enough for me.
It doesn't matter that they lost these games. I think it was the optics of how they lost and the fact that they were increasingly non-competitive, especially early, when you would assume that they have some of their premier backups, if you can say that, playing in the game. So like if they lose all 3 preseason games because the fourth quarter is happening and they score a bunch of, you know, garbage time touchdowns, the opposing team, which we've seen happen, like that's one thing. Today was not a competitive day for them. They flew to Denver and they were basically mollywopped by Zach Wilson, who inarguably is one of the worst quarterbacks we've seen in the last 5 years in the NFL. So if people want to say but who's on the field? Okay, guys that I'm going to see play for the Cardinals this year. It's not like these players are going to go play in the fucking USFL tomorrow. They're going to be on the Cardinals.
If we see Phil Hoskins or Ben Stilley on the defensive line, it's bad. Like I agree.
I saw a bunch of offensive linemen that are going to be John Gaines and Isaiah Adams. And, you know, we just mentioned Mercado's out there running around. Prater misses a field goal. These quarterbacks are abysmal, right? Like Chris Moore is going to make this team. You can't have your cake and eat it too, where it's like, well, the preseason doesn't matter, but yet we're going to list a bunch of guys that played today. They're going to make the team. Like that's not nothing. And again, I think so much of my frustration comes from, and this is where we get back to what we talked about all last summer. When your quarterback play is this bad, there's a ripple down effect where everything is made to look worse. Your offensive line, your skilled players, everything. But they have to own that, though. For the second consecutive preseason, their quarterback play has been horrendously bad. It was unwatchable this preseason. So I think that's the frustration. I think defensively, we had a lot of wins, right? We talked to Brian Baldinger about this, Craig, like Xavier Thomas, Taylor Demerson, Cameron Thomas, Owen Papo. The defense, it is what it is. Outside of the pass rush, I think they will overachieve on certain Sundays. My biggest concern offensively is, you know, if Kyler Murray were to go down, like you got no shot right now with the guys on this roster. So, the 0-3 doesn't matter, but I was taken back, and I won't be next year if they do it again, with how much they punted on the preseason. They basically showed, outside of playing a bunch of rookies, which Gannon's highlighted, they do not value it. So, okay. Got noted. Noted.
I don't have any sort of I can't evaluate what they did in those joint practices. Bo and Damon were there.
Yeah.
So that factors into this as well, what you saw in those instances. And it's going to matter even more when they go down to 2 preseason games and you're going to have more of those joint practices. I think more of that has to be factored into the evaluation of the preseason. So I don't know if you saw something there, Bo, that maybe changes this narrative a little bit.
Yeah, I think it changes the narrative quite a bit. I mean, it's what we saw from the first team offense really in their only competitive action against a team that's not their own. We saw them make big plays. Like you saw plays to Michael Wilson for chunk plays, 15 to 20 yards. Trey Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison, getting all those guys in rhythm. And then you know what they can bring from the run game standpoint. Where we saw them struggle was in pass pro. But this is an offensive line that I think is geared up to run the football and can maybe help with some deficiencies that they have, both on the offensive and defensive side of the football. We saw, and Damon covered this, and he could speak to it more than I could because he was watching the first team defense against Anthony Richardson and the Colts in day one. But I think he would, as he pointed out, like the Cardinals won most of that joint practice until they kind of fell apart and had a tough finish to it. So, I think both sides of the football are in a decent spot from players that they expect to actually play snaps, significant snaps this season. So that and it's just one game against the team is probably also a fringe playoff team as well. It's not, hey, they're going up against Mahomes and the Chiefs, but the one little sample size we saw, like they were there, they were competitive. It wasn't they were letting Zach Wilson just rip them apart.
Let's get some of these super chats.
Yeah.
Jin Soul Murray $4.99. Our receiver room looking so nice. I like Weaver. I think that's again with the temporary subtraction of Zay Jones, gentlemen, with the suspension. I think Weaver's really helped himself over I think the entire preseason. And again, like this is what largely the preseason is for, to highlight these young guys. But I mean, he was your most electric, if you have that, offensive player today. So good for him.
Is that the biggest play of the preseason? It had to have been like the 43-yard from Tune.
Yeah, not even close. Baharo $2. Straveler costs an AZ the playoffs defines the Cliff Kingsbury Keim era. And I think, again, well said as it relates to like, you got to go win a game, not necessarily at the end of the year, but midseason, you got to keep this train moving. And the Cardinals want to not punt on their season. You got to have a backup that you can count on. And again, like I ripped on Colt McCoy all last summer because he couldn't throw the football, but like it's ironic. He's probably the best backup they've had in 10 years outside of Drew Stanton. So they got to go find that next guy. And if it's Clayton Tune, for whatever reason, it's just not enough yet to get me to buy into that narrative, gentlemen. But here's what I will say. Cardinal fans deserve a round of applause for enduring this preseason, which is why they are our X Factor player of the game day. Cardinal fans here on the PHNX Cardinals post-game show, enduring the only stat that matters, 0-3 in the preseason, averaging 13 points per game. You can count the touchdown drives on one hand, one passing touchdown in 3 games from Tune and Ritter combined. Unwatchable. Yet you watch all along with this show. You are X Factor player of the game.
Oh, man. Congratulations, Red Sea. You did it. This is like Johnny enduring the Acolyte season. Just pushing to the very bitter end until the final credits roll. Well, the final credits have rolled on the preseason, thankfully.
Thank God, yeah.
Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Pick up a free hat and or shirt like this phenomenal T-shirt right here. There's still time to get some gear before the regular season and rock it with us. We got watch-alongs. We got outings. Of course, head to State Farm Stadium this fall. We want to see you with PHNX Cardinals gear. And then, of course, read the workings of our phenomenal new beat reporter, Craig Morgan. Again, there's going to be a lot of news on this podcast and at GoPHNX.com here in the next 48 to 72 hours as the Arizona Cardinals trim this roster from 90 plus to 53. And we're going to be there with you every step of the day. Make sure you got that bell notification going. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. And we asked you earlier, drop a like on this podcast. Help spread the word of the PHNX Cardinals, PHNX Sports community. Hit that like. Be able to see old MHJ here soon enough. For Craig Morgan, Damon, Dawg, Bo Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. Thanks for hanging out today. We'll see you on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.